I think the first question is why? Why are you building this project after, a career in finance into advancing the blockchain in New York? What is this that you're building?
Well, blockchain, DeFi, decentralized currencies, all these things are a part of financial services already. And so communicating is obviously a big part of that. I recall many years ago on Wall Street where only we had this machine in front of me. And we used to have to fax yield tables to our clients. So it's all about a better way of communicating, really. I mean, that was only in the 90s, right? So the ability to communicate peer-to-peer faster. And so Overline Group, Overline.network, has developed a new way to decentralize communication, wireless communication that can be used at the speed that would allow even crypto mining.
And a few more details about this project. It's almost like a cell tower, right? In a huge New York skyscraper. You saw the renderings right there, available at the end of this year. This is in New York that you're creating this wireless network for the blockchain. Mm-hmm. Can this expand to other cities? What can we expect of this?
Yes. So there's a joint venture that's been established between the JDS Group and Overline. It's the tallest building in New York, and it's the perfect place as sort of a symbol of technology to announce new technology. And so this one building will be able to connect, sort of like a ham radio operator, connect everybody in New York City to wireless trading, wireless crypto trading, wireless communication. So yes, it'll go to other cities. Sorry?
Todd, how would you make money through this? You're saying that versus centralized and other decentralized exchanges, you're going to be charging a lot less. I'm interested in where your take is, where your cut is.
Well, so Overline itself has its own currency, and we can benefit from the usage and increase in that currency. But as we move farther into the world of tokenized assets, that seemed like a fantasy to me. That's just an extension of sort of securitized assets where we allowed different institutions around the world to buy certain duration buckets of cash flow. And the difference here is that you can buy sort of the hard asset, but because it's digital, you can actually offer the utilization of an asset, right? So part of the building at 111 is to create the world's largest NFT museum. And so that's kind of the utility function inside a building rather than just owning the bricks and mortar, so to speak. Right. So we think that Overline will be the progenitor of many projects that people can own.
Talk to us about some of those future projects. I was on, is it the beta testing site for Overline, and you have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum. What other things can we trade? How quickly do you see that expanding and coming and becoming perhaps maybe more mainstream?
Yeah. So honestly, it's almost whatever you can imagine at this point.
Okay.
It's fought a lot of headwinds. I think it's actually good for humanity, not bad. It democratizes access to investments. Centralized authorities are having trouble around the world. Monetary policy has been not well executed, let's say. And so democratizing assets to information and to assets, we think, will unleash tremendous amounts of capital. If you've ever seen the work of Helena Panaritis or Hernando de Soto, it's really about this dead capital locked in the world. And so we can unleash that digitally and make that available to the world.
Pat, I'm curious about your own interests in blockchain and Bitcoin. We've seen a lot of folks move from traditional finance. You saw Ray Dalio just this morning speaking at a conference about Bitcoin. What are you doing to invest more in this space? Have you put your own money towards Bitcoin?
Yeah. So, when people say Bitcoin, that's a thing, right? And then Ethereum, to me, has a much higher utility through smart contracts. And so, the notion that any industry runs on analog, for instance, much of the insurance industry, that will be digitized. All right, so things that haven't been digitized will be, if you don't have a technology strategy, you're going out of business, is my view. Mm-hmm. So you better have a technology strategy, or suddenly something shows up and your Walkman looks like an abacus. Right, and that's where we are. And so the technologies that began as described as Bitcoin are moving very rapidly into other parts of the world. In fact, Patrick and I were looking at something recently. The app developers in Ethereum are growing at 20x the prior year for 6 years straight, much, much faster than Moore's Law. So that's where the action is, and it's just the large-scale deployment of that utility function and access to assets hasn't quite happened, and so we're hoping to be leaders in that sense.
Todd, I'm kind of going to go back to asking why. Why do we need another exchange right now when there's a lot of competition out there? Why do you need an NFT museum, a non-fungible token, largely digital art, which you could view on your phone or on your beautiful new screen that you might have spent a lot of money on to project your and show your own NFTs you might have purchased? Why do you need museums for that when these are inherently digital assets?
Depends on what you mean by museum, right? So Guggenheim Museum has had phenomenal success at becoming a real estate development tool, using culture to develop assets and convene people. So we think there's that, but we also are very interested in global infrastructure, technology-driven infrastructure. So it gives us an ability to not only allow investment into those areas, but to sort of capture the culture of those areas. And so it becomes sort of a global ambassador, a digital ambassador, if you will. So why not centrally located in the highest building in New York?
Just big picture in our final minutes here. Do the price swings and the volatility, is that helpful or hurtful?
To who? I think traders love volatility, but look, it's still a small market. You know, it's still a very small market, so it's illiquid. So when you get a few sellers, we always say it's more sellers than buyers, and the reverse. So it's just typical of a young market, and it's growing. So all of the negative things that people worry about are the same in the cash market, laundering and these sorts of things. But the utility function, the way to connect people, the way to create new levels of access is really spectacular. We think it's going to be a very, very positive development for the world.